Hi, my name is Nathan. You're watching Nice at Dice, and I've been talking on my channel for some time about the fact that I am making an effort to slim down my collection. I'm trying to focus on quality over quantity. And so one of the things that I find myself doing to that end is I'll often find myself comparing one game to another and choosing to keep one of those games and let the other go. And so in this video today, I am doing that. I am comparing two games. One of them is this game Quantum, and the other one is Small Star Empires. Now, I've done full reviews of both of these games. I'll put links to those reviews in the description of this video if you want to go check them out. But today I'm just going to kind of give you a general overview of what each of these games is, how they compare and contrast with one another, and let you know which of these games I'm going to keep and which one I will be letting go. So first of all, both of these games are somewhat similar in that they are both sort of abstract area control games with a light space theme to them. They both support 1 to 4 players. They both have modular boards, which allow you to set the board up differently depending on the number of players, or just to set it up differently in order to make the gameplay lend itself to one strategy or another, so you can have just that variety in your plays of the game. Either one of them kind of has that feature. Small Star Empires is very simple in that you have a number of ships depending on the number of players, and on your turn all you're going to do is you're going to select one of your ships, you're going to move him to another spot on the board, and you are going to build something on that spot. So you could build a colony or a trade station, and either of those things will score you points in different circumstances depending on which one you build. In Quantum, you have a number of ships on the board, and you have essentially a certain number of actions that you can take on your turn, and you can use those actions to do different things. You might use an action to move a ship, you might use an action to add another ship to the board. You can use actions to claim control of planets, but you have to work up to that. You have to have your ships around the planet in a certain configuration in order to be able to claim that planet. So it's perhaps a more thoughtful, more it conveys more of a sense of like building up to moments of progress, whereas Small Star Empires, it feels like you're making progress every turn, doing this very quick, simple action every turn. So that's a kind of a distinction between the feeling of these two games. Now, one of the things that I like about Quantum is it has 2 decks of cards, and basically as you play through the game, one of the things you can use an action for is you can use an action to research. Once you have researched a certain amount, you basically fill up a meter, so to speak, and then once you've hit the top of that meter, you reset that meter to the bottom and you get to claim a card from one of these 2 decks of cards. One of the decks of cards has abilities that happen right away, they get resolved, and then that's it. And it's usually something really good that happens, but it's just a once-off kind of thing. The other deck of cards are cards that you then take and you like slot them into your player board, and it gives you a new ability that is constantly in effect. And so that is pretty cool. It allows you to sort of customize what you can do as a player over the course of the game. So that's a really neat feature of Quantum, and it adds just a little bit of theme to the game. It's still very abstract, but there's a little bit there with the different cards and what they do and so forth. Now, one of the interesting things about Small Star Empires is very quick to set up, very quick to teach, very quick to play. It has some nice components. I have the deluxe version, which has some nice plastic components for your ships and the cities and the trade stations that you're building. But even the retail edition has some nice wooden components for those things as well. Quantum, on the other hand, for its components, it has basically, for your ships, you just have 6-sided dice, just regular 6-sided dice. And they're a different color for each player, so you can tell your ships from someone else's ships, but you're just moving these dice around the board, and those represent your ships. Now, that's not as thematic to me. That's not as nice, but it is very clever because the value showing on the die tells you what type of ship it is. There's essentially 6 types of ships, and so the value showing on the die tells you what type of ship that is. It tells you how far that ship can move with an action. It also tells you the combat power of that ship. And by referencing your player board, which tells you what all the ships are, their number, and their abilities, it tells you what special ability that ship has. So each ship has a different special ability. So all of that's very interesting, very clever. There is a bit of a thematic disconnect because you're just looking at these dice on the board. You're not looking at, for example, nice miniatures of a ship, but it is extremely clever. So I would say Quantum is a very cleverly designed game, and that design is cleverly implemented. Now, Small Star Empires is, it's much simpler. It's much more straightforward. I would say it's probably not quite as clever, but it does have a nice look to it with the little plastic or wooden pieces if you have the normal retail edition of the game. Now, just going from that, I would say that they're both fine games. Quantum sort of edges out Small Star Empires in just about every way, though. However, Small Star Empires also has expansions. Quantum does not have any expansions, and I don't think it really needs any expansions. But Small Star Empires has a number of expansions, and those expansions add a variety of things. For example, one of the expansions allows you to play with 5 or 6 players, so that's pretty nice. It kind of increases, the options for what types of groups you can bring this out with. And because the turns are so simple and so fast, you just move a ship and put something on the spot where that ship stops. Because of that, it's fine with 5 or 6 players. It doesn't bog the game down. It still gets back around to your turn very quickly. So that's a nice expansion to Small Star Empires. Another expansion for Small Star Empires adds player boards, and each player board is a different faction, and it has 2 special abilities that are unique to that faction. And so now each player starts out the game with a couple of abilities that not only set them apart from everybody else, but they're also thematic. So you have kind of a more of a thematic experience where you feel like, okay, I'm playing this faction, which is really, good at conflict. The expansion does add the opportunity to have a little bit of conflict between players, which is otherwise absent from Small Star Empires. Or you could play a different faction that's like big on trade, or another one that like gets along with all their neighbors and, different things. But it adds that little bit more theme to the game and that neat experience of feeling like there's something I'm good at that nobody else is good at in this particular game. So that's pretty cool. There's another expansion that adds a deck of technology cards. You can essentially research and get those technology cards. They do something right away for you, and then they're worth points at the end of the game. And there's a number of other expansions that allow you to there's another expansion, I should say, that allows you to kind of develop new abilities and so forth, and eventually even build like a really powerful super weapon or a galactic wonder over the course of the game. So I would say Small Star Empires, with its expansions, definitely has a lot more going on than Quantum, and it is definitely more thematic than Quantum. If I was just comparing the base games of Quantum and Small Star Empires, I would say Quantum definitely has the edge. It definitely has the edge over Small Star Empires. It is a more complete, more well-rounded game, just in its base box, and it's a very clever game. With the expansions for Small Star Empires, though, it really becomes a more robust game. Maybe not as clever as Quantum, but I think Quantum, in a way, actually feels like it is clever for the sake of cleverness. And I think that maybe works against it just a little bit. Small Star Empires, on the other hand, especially once you add in the expansions, or specifically once you add in the expansions, it becomes more robust, it becomes more strategic, and it definitely becomes more thematic. Now, theme might not be as important to you as it is for me, but I really enjoy and appreciate when a game is both strategic and thematic, and so for that reason, I think Small Star Empires, once you add in those expansions, is going to win out over Quantum for me. So, both fine games. Taken individually without expansions, Quantum wins out. It is the more well-rounded, more complete, more clever game on its own. But once you add in those expansions, Small Star Empires really shines, becomes more robust, more thematic, more of everything that I like about a game. So that's my take on Small Star Empires versus Quantum. Again, either one of them is a decent game. I've done full reviews. You can see those in the description below. My name is Nathan. This is Nice at Dice, and thank you so much for watching.